You guys want to hear who's going to be here tonight, or here now? Shannon Woodward as Elsie. Luke Hemsworth as Stubbs. Angela Sarafyan as Clementine. Ben Barnes as Logan. Jimmi Simpson as William. Jeffrey Wright as Bernard and Arnold. Evan Rachel as Dolores. Jonathan Nolan as Jonah. Lisa Joy. Ed Harris as the Man in Black. James Marsden as Teddy. Thandie Newton as Maeve. Rodrigo Santoro as Hector. Ingrid Berdal as Armistice. Quarterman as Sizemore. And of course, Tessa Thompson as Charlotte Hale. Well, they're all here. Most of them are real. You'll find out at the end, which is not. Panelists, are you ready to panelize?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. I have a couple comments to make. First of all, level of detail in the world is incredible. That makes me relax when I watch a show. The way people are holding their weapons correctly, it's really nice. The size of a hat and the way it's worn and the angle of the head of the person, it's a huge deal. Having really believable user interfaces on small tablets, which can fold up to a really convenient size that can be put into a back pocket very quickly. And then throwing away that technology because we don't need to explain that is also a welcome addition. When the actors freeze and the camera continues to pan, but they're still perfectly frozen, it's amazingly well done. There's a little nub on the bottom of the barrel of some of the pistols, which I conclude is a differentiator between androids and humans. Little device there. I'm probably wrong. I just like to say things like that. Basically, overall, I just want to thank you guys for creating a show that doesn't pander or just expect people to keep up with it. It just is what it is, and we go along for the ride no matter how confused we are, which I never am. And then you figure out later on, oh, that's why. So anyways, thank you so much for appealing to our higher intelligence. Lisa, I have a question for you. Were there any challenges in revealing the character arcs to actors in stages, as you chose to? And how do you think this method benefited the series?
To telling them in stages?
Yeah,
The
to
fact that we
revealing
didn't
things
tell
in
the
stages.
actors anything.
Oh.
And yet we're still friends. I think we should throw that to the actors.
Yeah, I know. We should see if they forgive us for that. And that's the key question, I think.
Does it give-
Evidently not.
Silence.
I actually respect you more.
Well, in a way, does that kind of generate almost a quasi-real-time unveiling of the progression of the character's life? So essentially, each step is just is kind of as much as the character knows as much as the actor knows.
I'd like to think it was like that, but you guys all busted us at certain points. Like, Evan busted me. You busted me.
Not me, she busted you.
Yeah.
Practice
Jimmy
that poker
busted
face.
me.
Well, I mean, you let
Go
your
on, now's your
card
chance
show.
to brag about how you broke me.
When?
You got spoiler. You figured things.
Oh, well, I figured things out,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I just started piecing it together
Yeah.
and then kept coming up to you and certain people and looking at their reactions. I think I went up to you and I was like, I can't figure out who Wyatt is, and it's driving me crazy. And I've gone through everything, and I've looked at each person, and I'm like asking around to see if they've cast him yet. And I've turned over every rock except mine. Jonah, and he just laughed and shook his head and walked away. And I questioned it. I was like, oh, you know I'm on to something. We would all do that. Just try
It's
to.
funny though, I actually felt like it was really altruistic of you guys not to tell us everything. Because as you've seen from watching the show, some of the storylines and the things that are happening to these characters are so huge, just trying to wrap your head around it. So as an actor, you just want to have enough to digest, you know, and like if we'd known everything, it would have been too much. Our minds would have been scrambled. So I actually felt like it was incredibly kind to just give us what we needed so that we could give everything to that section. And then when we're done with that, we move to the next moment. It was, and I don't know how you managed to control it so that we all had enough, but it was seamless. It was really seamless.
I just went on Reddit. Thank you.
But our job as actors is generally to not give away the ending of the story that we've just read and have gotten excited by and have gone after. And for them to withhold this thing, that part of our craft is generally to withhold from the audience. We didn't have it, so we had to focus on what was happening right then. That's all we knew. I thought it was the greatest acting lesson I've ever been given, and I'm so grateful for it. So thank you. Thank you. I love it. I want to do that. I want to cut the ends of my scripts. Every job I do.
This year we're giving you fake scripts.
Yes, please.
It really helped me pretend to be super smug because I always thought I was right and had no idea
that
I was a
pretending,
robot.
Thandie,
Yeah.
was Maeve's decision to get off the train and go back for her daughter her first conscious choice?
Is she going back for her daughter?
I don't know.
Well, she better be.
I don't know.
That's what we wrote.
I mean, oh God, I don't know. Is that the first conscious? No. I mean, I'm just thinking really pragmatic. I can't try and be clever now. I think that her decision at every moment to get the clinicians to upgrade her and to give her information, they're the first conscious decisions. And at every break, at every moment when she discovers something new, she's breaking down, you know. So the conscious, and it's interesting that her conscious decisions come from chaos, come from things breaking down. You know, I just think it's fascinating. I'm so into the existential stuff on this show. Just that in moments of chaos, when you think you know nothing, that's when gifts come. You know, I just think that's incredibly profound. And you know, that this is hardware, and yet it's getting into a soulful place that you wouldn't necessarily associate with hardware. And I think that what we can learn from that is fascinating.
Evan. Say hello to Evan. Okay.
Yes.
You've played a variety of roles. Incredible, fierce, strong, subjective, sometimes vulnerable. What was your approach to playing Dolores, who is relatively gentle in the beginning, but then obviously has a turn of character and realization? And tell us about your experience in playing this character with sharp edges.
Oh man. It's hard. It's almost hard to talk about it because I get really emotional because it working on the show changed my life in many different ways. And she was such a gift to be given, and I knew I was going to be on an incredible show, and I had read the pilot when I signed on, and it was brilliant, and I had heard Jonah and Lisa's kind of pitch, which really was, in retrospect, a lot of information, and I knew that I wasn't going to stay this kind of damsel in distress, that I would become strong. But my little brain didn't go much farther than that, or didn't fully grasp how deep it was going to go and just how profound it was going to be, and how she finds her strength. I had no idea. And again, as the scripts were coming in, and I was reading it, and I was starting to grasp what show I was on, and having an existential crisis, and asking myself all these questions, and realizing that I was sort of at the forefront of this responsibility. I almost had a panic attack. I think around the fourth episode, because I realized what was on my shoulders and was terrified, but then just got so excited, and I was so ready, and I believed in it so much, and I just threw myself in, and it really is working on the show is an immersive experience. It's like going into the park because the sets are so massive, and everyone is a character and speaking differently and moving differently, and everywhere you look is a set, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen. So you really do fall into a kind of dream when you walk in, and I just loved the different layers of her. I loved working with the directors and with Jonah and Lisa, figuring out what this character was, because it's the first season. I mean, we all kind of were building a tone together and a kind of inventing a style that was really unique. And so finding that and doing those diagnostic scenes, with Jeffrey, and then working on every beat, every moment, and everything that she's thinking and all the different modes she's in, and finding different variations on that and trying different things. And it's so fulfilling because, especially as women, and I don't know if this is true for men too, but a lot of times you feel like your wings have been clipped, and you're not being represented the way that you want to. And this was just like somebody had given me a fucking condor wings, and I got to take off and fly, and I'm tearing up just talking about it because it's so important, and it's so important right now, and to be a part of that and to go on that journey with her and to learn things about myself and to put my own experiences into what she was going through and using that as a vehicle to walk through my own false reality or my own repressed memories or trauma and breaking through and coming out on the other side. I mean, it was just transformative and fun. I mean, good Lord, all these people are like family to me now. I mean, because we went on this crazy journey together, and what we're being called upon to do and the emotions we have to conjure up, and because there was so much writing on it, we just gave everything. I would drive home covered in bruises and blood and be happy because it was for something amazing that meant something. So it was fantastic.
Jeffrey, we all thought that Bernard was one of the few non-hosts on the show, but in retrospect, there was always something very reserved and precise about him. How did you pull off that nuanced portrayal? And at what point did you learn that Bernard was a host?
Well, I in this instance, in the case of last season, I did know a little bit more than some others. I didn't know when I read the pilot. I just thought he was, every man, kind of walking us through this world, kind of detective-like. But then when we came back to go into full production, the beginning of episode 2, Lisa pulled me aside and dropped the hammer onto my head, which was, I didn't know the full extent of what it meant, but it was, I didn't appreciate at that time really to some extent at all what it meant. I knew that it would be kind of an interesting foil to play, but I think, going through the course of the season and into this season, starting to understand the opportunity there, really as an exercise, yes, for an actor, but also, to some of your points, it's kind of an existential metaphor. Really interesting ideas about perception for us, reality, consciousness, and the decisions that we make, the agreements that we make with ourselves toward certain touchstones, whether they be physical or metaphysical or familial or regional, and the agreements we make with one another that determine, what it is we're doing right now. And I didn't sleep last night, so I have no idea what that is at the moment. I was filming until like 4:30 in the morning. But so I didn't know, very early on, and I'm still learning, I guess, still learning exactly who Bernard is. Join me.
James, Teddy's loyalty to Dolores was unwavering. Was it something more than his code or his programming?
Is it something more than just his code?
Programming, yeah.
I like to think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think Teddy and Dolores represent this romantic core of. They represent hope. They represent purity. And Jonah and Lisa brilliantly take that and slowly start to turn it on its head. But a lot of that core of how he feels about Dolores is still there, and I think she still reciprocates that, but it becomes more complicated as the season goes on, as the first season goes on. Yeah, it's interesting how in the first season, you know, he felt like he needed to protect Dolores, and then he realized she was fine. A little late in the game, but I don't know. I love how these hosts represent sometimes the best of what humanity is about, and I see that in the relationship between Teddy and Dolores, and how the hosts can be sometimes more human than the humans that come to the park. And it generates great empathy from the audience, hopefully, and will continue to, as long as Teddy can stay on his feet and not on the floor dead, oozing blood. Which stays in your ears for like weeks. Lay in the shower, like blood. Oh, that was... Anyway. Did I answer your question? I don't know.
That's perfectly answered. Jimmy.
Yes,
sir. There's an interesting juxtaposition in the show where the hosts inch closer to consciousness/humanity over time, while your human character loses his humanity over time. What do you think was the tipping point for William?
Well, you know, I mean, I think sometimes part of I think a lot about this show. Not quite as much as Evan. She comes to work with PowerPoints saying, okay, this is what I got. What do you think? But I do think a lot about humans and hosts, and I think about this romantic tragedy of William and Dolores, and yeah, William turns in a way, but I still think that the human, being a slave to one's own emotions is like a flaw only a human will ever have. Dolores will never quite know the way a broken, ego-destroyed man will be grasping and reaching for ways to cover up their own anguish. And so, yes, he's being harder, but I think he's becoming even more human. He's becoming even more fragile. While he puts up this huge, no, I'm strong, but I think there's actually a deep, broken weakness in there. So, and I think it started with the first time he fell deeply in love, and then had that heart broken. And I think, that can send the best of us flying over the edge. And it turned William into a fucking Ed Harris. Like, God damn it.
I don't know my own strength.
This is a question for the whole cast. What was the most challenging scene for you to play and why? And also, conversely, what was the most joyful or fun scene to do?
Honestly, one of the hardest scenes for me to shoot was when Jimmy put on that black hat. And
Same here.
It was one of the. There was not a lot of emotional. It wasn't like an intense, crazy scene. I mean, and also the scene I had with Ed at the end of episode 10, when I fight back, that was super intense and really hard. But that was different because we had built this love story together and really invested in it and really cared and really wanted to make them fall in love. And we didn't know. I mean, we kind of started having a feeling where it was going, but it wasn't until we were there and I looked at Jimmy and he was in the black and we couldn't even look each other in the eye that day. We just kept.
Yeah, man.
It really was. That was emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like
hard.
the rumor, this is because they had crafted the love story so beautifully that we were like, no, nothing bad's gonna happen. And then it did, and it was.
We were so naive.
It was too much.
I think for me was the most difficult, challenging stuff was to be tortured for the course of a week by Anthony Hopkins. Once it was revealed that Bernard, who he was, and was trying to go back into his memories and experiences and try to figure more out. But at the same time, it was an absolute joy working with everyone. But maybe the most enjoyable scenes were those same scenes. Maybe that says something about me. I don't know. But I think it says more about just working with Tony. Yeah, one and the same.
I have to say the one and the same, both most joyful and most difficult scene for me, and I have to be careful I answer this because on the back of this card it says, please be aware that many members of your audience may be under the age of 18.
Oops.
You're
So why
We're
are
all
you
aware.
watching the
But
show?
gentlemen, until you've ridden a horse balls to the wind, as it were, you will not know true terror or true joy.
Season 2 begins with you riding that horse, Ben. Still naked.
I want to ride a horse naked.
Mate, you
Duly
don't.
noted.
It's an interesting question. This was an aggregation from the internet. The first season of Westworld really broke through, became a part of the zeitgeist, inarguably. While the season was airing, was there a moment of cultural reference or perhaps an endorsement or a sense that it was resonating with people or that you had a feeling that you were part of something special that was actually...
There was an SNL reference, I remember, right? Wasn't there like an SNL reference early?
A few.
Yeah, I think it was when I was in Target and someone yelled out "freeze all motor functions." That's when I knew.
Lose the accent.
It doesn't work.
There's also the fly on Hillary Clinton's face during the debate. Remember that?
I think around the time the third episode was airing, I was in the Atlanta airport and there was a piano and someone was just playing in the middle of the terminal and they were playing the Westworld theme song and it was like the third episode had just aired and I was like, whoa.
Aww.
I was in an American football match in New York, and I was taking a train back into Manhattan, and there was a huge amount of drunk guys having just watched this football match, all in these football jerseys, and they were just going, "Hey guys, we're on the train to Westworld. Violent delights, violent ends," and they were just shouting this nonsense, like Westworld. I was like, wow, this is a zeitgeist capturing thing here, and I just shrunk down in my seat. It was kind of amazing.
Hi, so my name is Jessica, a big fan. You guys are all beautiful, by the way. My question is actually for Teddy, James, my Prince Charming from Enchanted. But you have died quite a few times. So which is your favorite death that you've had?
It's the only thing I can speak to, really. Thank you for that. That was very sweet of you to say. I treat all my deaths evenly. I love them equally, as I do my children. So to choose one death over the other would be difficult.
I liked it when you were hosed down in the intake room.
Yeah, that was icky. That was the pilot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was laying in about 3 inches of water that I was sharing with about 40 other background players who were fully nude. So we got to know each other really well that day. I wouldn't call it fun, but it was memorable. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't pick one. I think It's always very tragic when Teddy has to say goodbye, because it's the first time for him every time. Yeah, thank you.
He's like the Kenny of Westworld.
That's what I always say.
Damn it.
I've heard that one. For sure.
Next question there from that man there.
Hello, my name is Brandon. Simple question. We all saw this Samurais towards the end of the season. How much, if any, is that going to play a role in season 2?
How much do you want it to play a role in season 2? Doesn't look like anything to me.
What?
All right. Next.
It's this sound.
Yeah.
My name's Maddie.
Beautiful.
Good job.
So I love Westworld, obviously. There's so many memorable but very heartbreaking scenes. Were there any scenes, and this is for the whole cast, when you read the script, you were just so excited to begin filming? Or were there any scenes you didn't want to really film, you weren't very excited for?
Well, speaking personally, when I read the scene where Dolores, beats me up, drags me into church, dislocates my shoulder, and then throws me out the back door of the church, I was tremendously excited, and that remains one of the most joyous experiences that I've had, because Evan was so effing excited to do that. It just made me feel good.
I was really nervous to shoot scenes in cold storage. I remember the day that Simon and I did that, because there's a combination of fake nude people and real nude people. And I was just really nervous about looking down, which I was doing constantly. And I had a flashlight, and I was just like pointing it in people's crotches. And they'd be like, could you go up with the flashlight? It was like that kind of thing where you dread something and then you just do it. And that's what I did all day.
I was in Spain shooting a film, and I got I think at the time, the 6th episode. And when I read the script and I saw that scene where Clementine is in the laboratory and beats the shit out of that guy, I literally wrote Jonah and Lisa and said, thank you for this. Thank you so much. Because it's both a really emotional scene and a very empowering scene. You kind of see the transition in Clementine for the first time, and I mean, it was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, my scene. No, I just want to personally also thank the equalization of the sexes in the show is incredibly empowering. It's something that resonates with me as a viewer. Is something that made me fall in love with this show. Next question has to be from someone wearing some kind of patriotic garb. Okay.
Hey everyone. My question is for Thandie, actually. I loved Maeve on the show. Her arc is amazing. In season 2, as an actress, would you like to see her use humanity to journey inward, or simply control them the way she does hosts?
Oh, it's such a difficult answer to give you. I've never felt like this before. I'm a control freak, and I feel like that's the way forward to have power in a situation. And particularly in a professional environment, especially being a woman, it's tough. You're always looking over your shoulder, you're always checking in with, am I being respected? What do I have to do to try and further my situation? And I started out on this show, and the weirdest thing, like, you're going to be a madam in a saloon and you're going to be naked 75% of the time. And there's me, like, I really want to try and further my empowerment of women. And, but they obviously explained, where Maeve would be going. And for the first time in my professional life, and I would honestly say, like, in my personal life too, I have complete trust and faith in what these people are writing and in where they're taking the show, to the point where I have no idea. And I am excited to find out what it's going to be, because I know absolutely that I couldn't predict how tremendous, how inspiring it's going to be. I don't have it in me, but these people do. And it is the most extraordinary feeling to be able to surrender and to trust the way we get to trust. So I don't know, but I can't fucking wait to find out.